To chat G and G. It's a different G though. It's a different G. It's the Gibbsy. How you doing, Gibbs?
Yeah,
How you
not
doing,
too bad.
Eddie?
Not too bad. When I came up with the name for this show, I never thought the G would ever be me, to be honest. But
Well, it was always in the back of my mind that a backup would be needed sometimes. And Grizz is having some family time today, so he's away. And next week, I'm going to be away. In fact, my last show for about 10 days will be the City game on the weekend. So I'll be away. And so Gibbsy over here is what I call him because I want to give it Gibbsy for the season. You guys might love him so much. You might say, hey, one of you has to sit off for him for the season, and me and Grizz will have to swap. But yeah, he's sitting in next week with Grizz, so there you go. We're kind of doing a swap
yeah, I'm
for a
just the
couple of
cover
weeks.
guy these days. It was Dave Davis last week. It's Grizz this week. It's you next week. I'm just the cover guy.
So, the title of this pod is a pivotal moment in the season. It is very pivotal, and we've started dropping some points. However, all is not lost, for sure. All is not lost just yet. Two big games to come. City have played midweek, got a bit of a hammering. So I think we know how they play when they play twice a week at the moment. Their squad's not got enough legs. Do you think the weekend's going to be a bit difficult for us, or will be? I mean, we look good against Villa, to be honest, in terms of playing good football. Just silly mistakes again at the back, costing us. And otherwise, I think you can say that for a lot of the drop points. We are definitely a good team, a very good team, but we're just dropping silly points with silly mistakes. What do you think is going to happen on the weekend?
Yeah, I think as Liverpool fans, we're kind of scarred by a bit of PTSD when it comes to City, and that's not just in terms of them being the juggernaut that is always sort of there or thereabouts in these title races, and we're having to go almost 100 points to win league titles. That's obviously not the case this year, and I think that PTSD runs a bit deeper because obviously even going to that ground has historically, I mean, we've not won there since we won in the Champions League years ago. You know what I mean? It's not a ground that we historically win at, but again, we're normally going up against this juggernaut, and we do draw there like we did last season. So what the hope, I guess, is that we're not as tired as we look. We're hopefully that the players aren't as bad as they look in terms of fatigue. I didn't think they were too bad against, in the main anyway, against Villa. Obviously, the Gravenberch one was the one that most people have pointed out in the post match analysis, is that he looks like he's run out of steam a bit. But hopefully, going against Man City, who have struggled with physicality, is one of the main things that they've done since they've lost Rodri. And they're an old side, you know what I mean? They have brought in some younger players, but they're an old side. And KDB looks finished, but it doesn't mean he can't rattle one in from 30 yards or cross a wonder ball that Haaland's on a plate for him, you know what I mean? So we're going to have to defend a lot better, that's for sure. The defending against Villa, there was a good video that Jack McCando did on YouTube there this week, analysing the game, and it showed how poor McAllister was, how poor Van Dijk was for that Ollie Watkins goal. It shows how poor Gravenberch was with letting the cross come in. It showed how poor Konate's header was from the set piece for their first goal. You know what I mean? All of these things are things we're going to have to iron out. And you were very confident Liverpool weren't going to concede goals earlier in the season. We were so frugal with conceding goals. And Alisson as well. I mean, that's another thing that Jack's video kind of highlights. Alisson's positioning on both of those goals. It's not like him. So the first thing that we have to do is make sure we don't concede. You know what I mean? There is a chance we will concede at the Etihad, of course, but we really have to boss that midfield and try and attack in that game. I noticed that it was one of the things that Bart said on the Stat Me Up podcast with Dave Davis yesterday, was that he thinks Liverpool have to win this in the first 30 minutes. And that's obviously a statistical analysis of what to expect. But for me, it's almost like surely that's where Liverpool are going to be stronger. You know what I mean? They've been to Madrid, they've been to, and obviously we played the same night, so there's not a massive advantage, but they've had to travel back. They're a bit dejected, obviously, going out of this tournament, going out of the Champions League. So what you have to hope is that there is going to be some benefits to Liverpool going up against them. And I mean, Stones is injured, Akanji's injured, Ruben Diaz isn't the player he was either, Kyle Walker's gone. It's a completely different Man City. So you have to hope that Liverpool are going to show up and do a number on them. It's all you can do is hope. And I know some people say a draw would be a bad result. I'm not so sure a draw is a bad result. I think that's people, again, overestimating how good they think Arsenal are. To say that a draw at the Etihad, you would take it. Obviously, we hope that's not the case because they've looked fallible this year. So that's the hope, I guess, going into that game, is that we will be able to stamp our authority on this game and really put a mark down on tails. Because other than that Spurs win, I don't think we've had a really top away win in any competition this year, even in the Champions League, because we played Real Madrid and Bayer Leverkusen at Anfield. We beat Man City.
Not against a big team, I guess, because it's.
AC Milan, I suppose, is
West
one that
Ham away 5-0.
Yeah. I mean,
2-0. I know we left it late, but we should have won there. I don't think
there's not really been a statement. There's not really been a statement win against a good side, and I'm not classing Spurs as a good side, even though they're a big side. There's not been a statement win against a big side, and I suppose that's a concern. And this is the I mean, I'm saying big side at Man United as well. Obviously, we did win there, but again, I'm talking about a good side, and it's
a quality team, like a challenger. We're not. And I guess people aren't classing City as a quality side this year, but then we have to go win. There's more pressure on us for that. Clifford just says City and Newcastle coming up, 2 big red matches for the Reds, and then away to PSG Champions League. Now, the good thing about the PSG game is that we play Wednesday Newcastle. It's a 6-day break then till because we went out of the FA Cup, so we don't have to play for 6 days. So there will be a bit of a nice gap in between there, ready for the next set of 3 games that are coming up, because obviously, well, actually it's 4 in 2 weeks, because we have PSG, then is it Southampton at home, then PSG again, then Newcastle again. So it's going to be we got City, Newcastle, nice break for 6 days, then we kind of refresh for the next phase of games before the international break. So every game seems to be huge. Literally everyone's a cup final. And I guess what the team needs to realize, like you said, is that you're not going to get this time back again. It's no time to be wasting time. And, just thinking, it's another game. This is a huge game coming up Sunday. And I, like you, hope they turn up for it. And we've got to put a few wrongs right. We haven't won there since the first year that Klopp was here in the league. I know we won there in the Champions League, but we're not counting that. It's a Premier League game. And we were 3-0 up in the first leg of that one when we won 2-1. They had to go for it. We were going to catch them at some point as the game went on. But in the Premier League, we've had some hidings there, and we've had some draws as well, some really good draws. But we need to win. It's the time to win, and that statement win would really send shockwaves, regardless of what Arsenal do with West Ham. They will be shitting it against Nottingham Forest on Wednesday night. Then, in case that we beat Newcastle and they drop points. But then if we beat Man City and then we drop points to Newcastle and Arsenal drop points, it's kind of a freebie for us. The Newcastle game becomes a freebie. So we got to take the advantage of those things. Now, it could be the other way around, that we draw with City and then they win against West Ham, but then we beat Newcastle at home and they draw to Forest, so it equals itself out again. But I kind of just want to win both these next 2 games, I just want to win these next. This is the pivotal week, I think, that's coming up, really. And I mean,
because if Liverpool to win both of those games, then Arsenal are 1 result away from implosion. They are. If you win those next 2 games, they're 1 result away from implosion. Because
then doesn't that give you the fine line of where the season is? Like, literally, Arsenal drop anywhere, and we capitalize on that drop. It could be curtains for them.
Their whole thought process, I guess, and the hope that some of their fans have retained is all about the fact that they think they'll come to Anfield and win. You know what I mean? That seems to be the thing that they've got in the back of their mind, that there's a 6-pointer there at some point for them. So they're putting all of their
won there for years.
But that's what they think will happen. You know what I mean? That's the hope that they're clinging to, is that's where the swing will come, with the fact that they've still got to come to Anfield. They've still got the opportunity to do that. You know what I mean?
If it's a 7-point lead, what difference is it going to make if they won?
Well, by then it wouldn't, but they don't think it's going to be a 7-point lead by then, do they? They expect Liverpool to get beat by Man City, or at least drop, and they probably expect Liverpool drop points against Newcastle as well. You know what I mean? Even though Newcastle are a really poor side away from home, and they're missing Joe Linton, who's their midfield sort of strongman that seems to get away with murder every time he plays against us.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I mean, I'm nervous just thinking about it, Ed, to be honest, very nervous. So, I mean, I guess all the Reds out there are going to be nervous about it as well. But what about the Newcastle? No, actually, before we go Newcastle, I wanted to get your reaction to the PSG draw today. That was the
Yeah, I
interesting
mean,
thing about.
it wasn't a surprise because you kind of expected that was the draw that we were going to get. I mean, everyone kind of expected that. I suppose there's before you talk about the game, obviously there's the fact that we should discuss that it's Paris, and obviously there's some scars there. Obviously, the French police and the way that they dealt with Liverpool at that Champions League final are not forgotten and shouldn't be either. The way that the French authorities dealt with it afterwards was disgraceful, and I can see a lot of people aren't going to be happy traveling back. Different stadium, of course, but same city, same police authority, same government, and it seems that I don't think there's been a lot of contrition from the French authorities either since that day. They seem to have just kind of got away with it, and I don't know what stories has been since then. Obviously, Liverpool's one case. Obviously, a lot of other teams have visited Paris, including Man City just a few weeks ago, and I don't recall any incidents from that. But it just seems like that the French police have got this reputation that they are going to be the bully boys whenever they get the opportunity to. So you hope that they don't try and take it out, if you like, on what happened on the Liverpool fans that are travelling there in a couple of weeks' time for that game. So that's one for sure, is that the hopefully the game passes with that incident. That's the most important thing of all, even more so than the match itself. In terms of it being the away leg first, I think that's good. I like that. I know some people don't, but it's always something I've liked. I've always liked having that Anfield second leg, having that up your sleeve, like we saw against Barcelona in that incredible semi-final. I just think it suits us. It suits.
I think
having
teams
that
implode.
Anfield factor.
Yeah, I think teams implode at Anfield. They get scared as well. They fear it.
Yeah.
So really, coming away from PSG with a 1-goal deficit or a draw or a win is literally what we need to do. I think Harbun's made a really good point there about what the hell was the point of the seeding when you're going to get a PSG. I think the whole system is shit.
I think the thing I would have liked with the system, and I quite like how they've done it now, where you can where the draw is almost like a tennis draw, where you know exactly what your path is to the final and the other half of the draw. I quite like that. But the way this should have been done is that Liverpool, who finished first, should have been playing against the lowest qualifier from the table, whoever's qualified lowest from the table, and then Barcelona against the second lowest because they finished second. There should have been some benefit to that, but weirdly, when you look at it, it's actually not that far away from that, because PSG didn't finish well in the table. You know what I mean? So that's it's one of those. It's like that's the way I think it should be.
Yeah, but it just shows that you can be absolutely rubbish in that first round, like in that first set of 8
That's
games.
the way it's designed, isn't it? I mean, they've designed it in a way that they've wanted, obviously, the 2 extra games for one, but also they wanted it so that you could have big teams playing each other in the early groups without any jeopardy. You know what I mean? Liverpool have played Real Madrid. Liverpool have beat Real Madrid. That counts for absolutely nothing now. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's still a knockout competition, but just with a massively convoluted group phase. And I suppose that's the one thing. It's whether people like it or not. I'm sure it's going to stay for now anyway, because they've got their 2 extra games, which means money, money, money. But I'm not sure what I think of it. I liked playing 8 different teams. I did like that. That was quite cool. But whether it's a format it's going to need a tweak here or there, I would imagine, certainly, because what we've ended up with now is, as I say, I would have liked it to have been properly seeded. So there is some benefit to actually winning the group stage, whereas Barcelona, if you like, have had it put on a plate for them in terms of the side of the draw that they've ended up in. And we'd have loved that position, you know what I mean? Going to Lisbon to play Benfica, where we've had a lot of success in the past, that side of the draw. And then I think the winner of that plays Dortmund or Lille. We've already beat Lille. Dortmund wouldn't hold too much of a threat to us. And I don't think you're playing anyone really in that until you come across a Bayern or an Inter or someone like that. And I fancy our chances against all of them. So if we'd been in the other half of the draw where Barcelona had been pitted, I think I'd have been quite confident we'd have a chance to at least reach the semis, if not the final. Whereas now, I'm not so sure. And you know what? I saw fans saying today, I'm not sure that it's a bad thing either with the league as well, because everyone wants to win the league. That's the worst thing. So if you were going to go out of this competition, then maybe the next round wouldn't be the worst. Obviously, we're not wanting that to happen, but in terms of the fitness of the squad and what we've got ahead in the league, the challenge that's to come, we're not so fussed as normal about the Champions League.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think going out in a later stage, like a semi-final, hurts way more, because you're so close. So if it's going to happen, earlier rounds are probably better. But I want us to go the whole way if we can at the end of the day in the Champions League. I just think if we can get past PSG, the next round shouldn't be too bad. It's Villa or Club Brugge.
Yeah.
So that's not too bad. It'll probably be Villa. It'll be an all English tie, and then it could be Arsenal if they beat Madrid. But I'm not sure they'll do that too.
They're not winning that.
So yeah,
they're gone. They're not going to.
You don't think so?
I think Real Madrid will beat Atletico and Real Madrid. Real Madrid will win the Champions League. It's just like this, just voodoo. It's just there's some person in Madrid pinging some pins in dolls or something to make this happen because they win the Champions League even when they haven't got a strong side. Now they have. Mbappe's starting to click. Yeah, they'll win the Champions League. I don't have any doubt about it. The one good thing for us is that we wouldn't have to face them in the final. We'd have a semi-final, and that would, in my opinion, give us more of a chance. We've already beaten them at Anfield this year. You know what I mean? I'd prefer them over two legs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's way better to play them over two legs than the one, especially in the team that we have now. Last time we played them over two legs, we were really, the midfield was gone.
Yeah.
At that point, so it was an easy game for him. But now
they get a bit more of a there'll be scars for a lot of the players in those one-off finals coming against them every time, and that can't happen this time. So there's no chance of another final against Real Madrid. So that's one positive.
Yeah, and if they can get that far, so beat PSG, which is by the way going to be a massive test, and then get past the next round, which will be another test if it's all English, believe you me, and then Real Madrid. That's pretty much a tough. That's probably one of the toughest runs to get there.
Yeah.
To a final.
I agree. I think the PSG test is massive. Certainly away. That's going to be the big test. I mean, they beat Man City there, obviously, a few weeks ago. But PSG, the thing with them is that they remind me a bit of Celtic in some ways in that they play in a league that's very, very easy for them. And they can often cruise that in third or second gear. And then when they have to go up the first gear in the Champions League, they often struggle. And that's the downside of playing in these weaker leagues is that they're in a situation where they're not geared up for these big contests, and that's probably why they've never won this competition. I know they got to the final in the COVID year, but they were playing with Messi, Mbappe, and Neymar as their forwards, and they've all gone now. But arguably they've got a stronger forward line. They've certainly got a forward line now that I think will test us, especially at fullback, with Kavicha on one side and Dembele on the other. You know what I mean? That's a lot of pace for our guys to deal with, a lot of trickery. And then there's Barcola they've got as well. You know what I mean? So they've got a lot of pace there. So that's going to be that's going to be the real test for our defense. But the midfield battle again, they've probably got arguably a better midfield. We've got a stronger defense. That's it. We've got a stronger defense, but our defense need to step up. And arguably we've got a stronger attack as well. But I am concerned about fullbacks and if they use the width with Kavicha and Dembele, that could be a real threat for PSG. Certainly in Paris. I'm not so sure about Anfield. I fancy us to win at Anfield. It's just whether we can
hold them out.
Yeah, whether we can come back with a draw or a very low defeat or a miracle win. You know what I mean? That's really what you're looking for. But I think that going to Paris is going to be a real tricky one, and we need to kind of address that with damage limitations. We take a draw for sure.
But before that, obviously, we have Newcastle at home as well. So if we go back to them, I guess we should probably take it a game at a time, really. But I wanted to switch to PSG just because the draw was today. Talking of Newcastle, very lucky. It was a very nice day earlier this week when I got lucky in the ballot. Was that yesterday or was it the day before? Yesterday. Day before. It was yesterday. So yeah, me and my cousin both got very lucky in the ballot. So that's nice. So we'll be heading over to Wembley on the 16th. So someone will be standing in that week as well on the weekend, which would be nice. So yeah. Nice day, nice way to start, but we are playing the same team twice in 2 weeks, Ed. Is it 2? It's 3, 2.5 weeks. 2.5 weeks. So I guess talking about Newcastle does make a bit of sense next. Yeah, in the past, it has happened quite a lot where we play the same team that we play in the final just before or just after, in a league game, and normally one team wins one and the other wins the other. So
you end up with a stalemate. I was thinking that, going back to the Champions League just very quickly, obviously you were mentioning Arsenal. If they were able to overcome the Madrid sides, there's a chance we would play them in the Champions League with the league game in the middle. So you could potentially play
My
Arsenal
God.
three times in a week. You know what I
My,
mean? So
that would be
that's that.
horrific.
I mean, well, would it though? Would you, as a Liverpool fan, what would you enjoy? Finishing them off in the Champions League and the Premier League in 1 week?
Well, it could go either way, right? But your nerves wise, like I would probably take a week off from work. Like just deal with that shit, man. It's like what the hell? But it would be probably the most exciting week of the season. Like
Yeah.
people would be bouncing off the walls in excitement, and the fan bases would be clashing. It'd be fun though. Like it'd be really content wise. Let's say as content creators,
Yeah.
it'd be an incredible week of football in England. Like it would be. Oh man, everything would be blowing up.
Anyway, let's get back to
crazy.
Newcastle. So with Newcastle, I don't hold any fears over them coming to Anfield. I really don't. I mean, a lot of people have said the only way Liverpool lose this title is if we beat ourselves. You know what I mean? And I'm a big believer in that. And if we didn't beat Newcastle, even on a short level, obviously things can happen. We saw it against Fulham when Robertson got sent off, and that game became a massive challenge for us to win, and we didn't win it. We just ended up with a draw. So anything can happen. It's sport at the end of the day. But I'm massively confident going into the Newcastle game at home, regardless of what happens on Sunday. I expect we beat Newcastle at home. The cup final, slightly different. It's a one-off game. You never know, but they do have a habit of freezing in these finals. Newcastle, they've only been to two in recent times. There was a League Cup final against Man United, and then I'm going probably back 20 odd years when they played Arsenal in the FA Cup final. They don't make a lot of finals, but that does mean Newcastle as a city will probably be close to empty on cup final day.
I expected them to do better against Man City as well. You know, they got steamrolled.
They don't travel well. That's almost. I mean, they're buoyed on by that St James's Park crowd, and that's where they get a lot of their points. And I mean, we almost beat them there. We should have beat them there.
We should have
up at St James's. You know what I mean? That's one of these results that got away from us. So again, I'm not fussed about them coming to Anfield in the cup. It's a one-off game. It's a day out. I'm flying down to London for that one. I'm really looking forward to it.
We'll be together.
It's going to be a great day. And that's always the thing with these cup finals. You just go and enjoy your day. And what will be, will be. It's a one-off game. Hopefully, we'll prove that we're the better side on the day and we'll come away with the trophy. If we don't, we don't. We've won it before. You know what I mean? It's you've got to be very pragmatic with that. All eggs are in this league basket. That's the one that we all want. I'm from a similar vintage to you in terms of age, and I have the scars from 1989, just like you do. You know what I mean? Of having that snatched away from us in the season of all seasons where you really wanted to win that double. And hopefully that doesn't even get close to materializing. And I don't think it will. I think we have to be realistic that Arsenal have got a massive points to overhaul here. I know people think, oh, it's going to only be 5 when Liverpool go to Man City. That's assuming Liverpool get beat by Man City. And still then it's still 5. And we've still got Arsenal to play at Anfield where we rarely lose for sure. Obviously, we have been beat by Forest this year, but we look pretty strong at home. And even though it's a massive game, you would hope that would go away. But I'm not going to get too concerned yet about
5 before the game. If we lose the game to City, then it's 2, because if they win it, it's 2.
Yeah, if they win their game in hand against Chelsea, yeah, which is still a long way away. Oh, you're talking about if they beat us? If they beat us?
No. So what's the point difference now? 8, yeah.
Yeah, 8.
Okay, so if they win, on Sunday, it's down to 5, level on games, which is fine. But if we lose to City, now they have a game in hand, and it's 5.
So Chelsea is their game in hand.
Yeah, so it could be 2 at that point, though. That's what I'm saying. But it could be back to 5 again if they draw.
But like what you said, you've got the Forest and Newcastle games in the week before that, and is that the last league games before the cup final? I don't think it is it? The Southampton is Southampton one after?
Mm-hmm.
No, because the international break happens after the cup final.
So there is a league game in between.
Yeah, which is our Southampton at home. Yeah.
Well, we go straight into 3 home games right after that. We've got, where are we here? Yeah, Newcastle next week, 8:15. Then we have the weekend off.
PSG away.
Then PSG away, and then we have Saturday 3:00 Southampton.
Yeah.
At home, and then again we have Wednesday PSG. Oh, wait up, no. PSG don't come to us then till after the international break, I think. Oh, no, it's not. It's Tuesday again. So we play Tuesday twice.
Yeah.
That's weird. We play on the same. Normally you play on a Wednesday, then a Tuesday. But
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing this year. It seems to just
it's just
still
weird.
it'll all
That
be
is.
to do with TV. It'll all be to do with TV.
Oh, that's crap. That is. That's really bad. There's
But
no
bottom line,
Champions League games on the Wednesday.
But bottom line is you're still it's still 7 days between the games. You've not got an 8 and a 6. You know what I mean? Sometimes you end up with an 8 and a 6 rather than an even 7.
Mm. Well, no, we're playing Saturday, right? So Saturday to Tuesday is less time.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. So then there's a Tuesday, and then it's the cup final from Tuesday to Sunday, which is nice for us actually. But I think Newcastle get the whole week to rest from
They're
there.
not in any, but they will play the FA Cup game next weekend.
Yeah, but that's immaterial. It's a week away.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
they've still got a week. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be the week. So they play. Who do they play the weekend before? Oh wait. Oh, they play Monday night.
Oh, so they
play one game less, but they play Monday night. So
so it's only 1 day. It's only 1 day difference.
Yeah, 1 day difference, and they play away to West Ham.
Yeah, so they're in London and we're in Paris 24 hours later.
Yeah, it's probably the same distance.
Yeah, pretty much.
They'll probably be flying down as well. Anyway.
Yeah. So there's not much in it.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But Nick asking a question here: do you guys think there's any chance Slot plays Endo against City or Newcastle? Feel like we need more physicality and rotation in midfield. I don't think he starts.
No, me neither. I don't think either of them are physical enough for that. You know what I mean? My biggest concern about Gravenberch is that he struggles when the physicality's there. If Joe Linton was playing, then perhaps, you know what I mean? But I don't think Klopp's go-to with no Gravenberch is Endo. I think Klopp's go-to with no Gravenberch is McAllister and Jones as a double pivot. So I don't think that's even won't even enter his mind.
Klopp. I think you're saying Klopp.
A Slot, sorry. I get that stuff all the time.
Yeah, you went back in time there 1 year.
Yeah. I don't think Slot's go-to is Endo. It's McAllister and Jones in a double pivot. And I think that if we see anything, if Gravenberch is going to be rested, that's what I think will happen. They'll play a double pivot of Jones and McAllister, but I don't think that will happen on Sunday. Maybe against Newcastle. And it's harsh on Endo for sure, but it's just not got the progression that Slot wants from his side, and I think that's the issue. It's just not got that ball progression. Don't get me wrong. If we were needed to keep Man City out or needing to keep Newcastle out late in the game, then sure, you know what I mean. That's where he'll come on. But that's the only way Slot seems to want to use him, and unless it's as a makeshift centre half, you know what I mean. It's not something that he seems to want to do, and it's the same with a lot of guys. They're just not getting a look in just now, and that's because Slot wants to go with this squad and that in the way that he's been managing it with the main starting 11, and I don't think he's going to veer from that. I think you've just got those 1 or 2 positions that he's prepared to adjust because he has to probably. Even Tsimikas, since his disaster class at Plymouth, has found it very difficult to get any minutes, but you can't imagine Robertson's going to start all of these games either. So left back's probably one in one of those 2 games. I see that we'll see some Tsimikas starting. He'll get a start in one. And then I think hopefully Gakpo will be back and they'll rotate between him and Diaz, or we'll maybe see this Diaz up front thing again at some point if he's not prepared to go with Jota as his sole 9. I expect he will now. I expect he'll use Jota as much as he can, certainly as a starter. But I don't think we've seen the end of the Diaz experiment. He could well come on and be a number 9 in some games because I just don't see that he's going to be given Darwin many more minutes now. I think Darwin's going to be in the slot penitentiary with Elliott and Chiesa and all of these guys now. I really do. I just don't think we're going to see him much unless he has to be used. I think that he's burnt a bridge there.
He's going to be in the slot. Isn't that for managers only? Is it for players as well now?
It is, but he can put players in his little prison as well.
I think Nick's got a good point. I don't see how using 4 midfielders the whole season is sustainable. They just look knackered. I mean, you're totally right, Nick. I am really worried. You need 5, and I don't understand, what's going to happen. But I think he needs to find a way of Elliott playing when he's playing like a Jones and a Dom deep. He's got 2 powerful midfielders in there.
Yeah.
And Elliott
that gives them the cover for sure. And I totally agree. I mean, games like the Wolves one on Sunday, that was the opportunity to do something like that. Southampton at home. You know what I mean? It's like some of these teams, surely you could do something like that in those games, but he just doesn't seem inclined to do it.
He's got to try, because it's really difficult otherwise for them. And like what you can do is when you play Dom and Jones there with Elliot in front, Elliot gets the 90, but you could literally sub Dom and Curtis at like 70 minutes or 65 to get Grav and Mac on, and they change it round, and the next
these
game
guys
they
are
get
going to need
60,
some
they get
rhythm.
30.
They are. They're going to need some rhythm. They can't just be sitting on the bench all the time with no minutes. I mean, Harvey hasn't started a Premier League game this year, and his minutes are minuscule.
No.
So
And they've got to try Chiesa in a 10 role as well. They just have to. I know it's probably not, but he's got to do something where he's getting two of these midfielders on the bench to rotate in and out, just because they're going to get shafted once the Champions League starts up. And if we are going through, these games are going to come thick and fast, Ed. Like, it's going to be relentless. There's no give at all in the schedule at that point.
I imagine that we'll see if he is going to start Endo, it is going to be like a Southampton at home or something like that. That's the sort of game that he'll take a risk with, because he would have these guys on the bench there as a break glass anyway. So that's maybe where you see a Gravenberch rested. But again, I just can't get away from thinking that his preference would be to play McAllister and Jones in a double pivot. I just can't see him. Every week I think it might happen, and it never does.
No, it's really interesting. I mean, goal ratio, thanks for being with us again as well. We have one more point than we had at this point last season. We went on to win the next game last season. But wasn't this like, yeah, we went on to win the Carabao, didn't we? Was that the game last season? I think so. This time last week, we were waiting for a Carabao final. It was the weekend. This was the weekend. I think it was the 23rd or the 24th.
Well, the final was much earlier, wasn't it? It was a February final, yeah.
Yeah, it was this weekend, because it was the same week. I'm doing the same trip.
And that's why you couldn't come.
The last week of Feb, and it was the Sunday before the thing starts. So it was literally would have been the 23rd this year. So, well, no, 24th this year would have been. So it must have been 24th last year, something like that. Anyway, they've moved it because obviously that's how it's worked out, because we had to have a month's gap between the semi-finals. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. So
yeah, the other game that he's mentioned in the game, so I think that was the Forest away one where we scored the last minute goal in game 26 and 27. I'm pretty sure that
cleared it up. We won games 26 and 27 in the league. So the next two, if we can win these two, we're in such a good spot, believe me. But we've been saying that for the last 2 weeks. Had we won Villa and Everton now at this point, and we're 4 more points ahead, we'd be like, it's 12 points at this point.
Yeah.
You've got a nice gap going in. Just so much fine.
I think that's a disappointment, and that goes back to that point I made about PTSD, is that I think people just wanted this in the bag. You know what I mean? They wanted this in the bag like it was when we won it in 1920. You knew nice and early in the year that Liverpool were going to be the champions, and you could make your peace with that then. You know what I mean? You could plan what you were going to do with parades and all that sort of stuff. Now, obviously, none of that happened in the end because of COVID, but that was the situation that I think, and that's the situation I think that people want right now. They want that peace of mind knowing that this is done. You know what I mean? Liverpool are winning this league, and whilst that jeopardy remains, people haven't got that option. So that's why you hark back to next year. Now, I know he's saying we have one more point, but last year the legs had fallen off the squad, the momentum had died. You know what I mean? There's so many injuries. You know what I mean? You think Arsenal and Man City and all have injuries now. Liverpool squad was absolutely decimated, and there you really did see the knock on when people had to play so many games. So that's what we hope isn't going to be the case this year. And obviously, we've lost a couple of players. Losing Conor Bradley and Joe Gomez again is disappointing after they just kind of came back, and you were hoping you were going to have them for the run-in, and now it doesn't look like you will.
Do we know anything about Bradley? Did he say anything today? I've missed everything.
Oh, the press conference was actually yesterday. Yesterday morning, which was a surprise. But at that point, he hadn't seen Bradley. They hadn't even reported in for training yet, so he had absolutely no idea. So I don't think we're going to find out probably now until either before the Man City game or after, because he won't speak to the press again before then. And I wouldn't imagine anything will break on that out with. it's just one of those. It looks like it might be a recurrence, a hamstring thing or something like that. It certainly look muscular. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully he won't be out too long, but we don't seem to have much luck with these things. And that lad does seem to be getting a little bit more injury prone than we'd like. And obviously what it does now is it means that he's not got this option to take Trent off on 60. He's really going to have to play Trent because who else is playing right back? Kwanzaa maybe. He did it against Newcastle. But this is what happens when you don't strengthen the squad in the window. When you go in, when you don't take the opportunity to be opportunistic, which we were told we were going to be, then you end up in a situation where your squad can start looking a bit thin.
It certainly is looking thin defensively now, and I'm surprised that Tsimikas hasn't even started a game for the last few weeks. It's like, what's going on? Here's hoping they sign at least one defender in the summer that isn't a permacroc. PVD is really our only bomb-proof defender. Let's not jinx it, my friends. Let's not jinx it. I mean, we only had a 1-point lead.
It's still a knockout.
Last 26 games last season. After 26 games last season, now we have an 8-point lead, having played one more than Arsenal. That is a huge difference compared to last season. I know. And I think if it gets neck and neck, I guess it gets really exciting every week. But I'd rather not it be that exciting every week, if I'm honest. I'd rather have the gap. So then we've talked about we're going to the cup final. You said you were more confident about the league game than the cup final. It's a one-off. It's a bigger pitch. I think, you know what I worry about most is injuries on that pitch, just because it saps you. That stadium seems to just
it does
take it out of you. It's like and you know what? This Liverpool side, has there ever been a final that we just turned up to and rollicked them? We've never done it. We've not. Like, how long has it been? Like, has it ever happened? Has Liverpool ever been in a final and just went, yeah, we smashed these, like it was a one-sided
even
final.
against lower leagues, even against when we played Cardiff in finals or Sunderland in finals. It's always tight. Yeah, Birmingham penalties.
West Ham, when you were totally favourites. It's never happened, and I'm just praying that there's one final that it can happen. And if it's not this one, let us get to the Champions League one, please. So it just happens in one. And I just want Mo to go and get a hat-trick or something in one of these finals somewhere, or do something crazy, or someone to step up and do it. But it just seems like, that's a really interesting point of discussion. Why? For us as fans, we always have... They are the best finals, though. Like, the Chelsea final last year was an amazing game. Amazing game for what it was. Like, there were so many chances, dude. It was like, I don't know what the XG was like in the end, but there were things getting cleared off the line, posts being hit, goals disallowed everywhere again. Like, it was just insane. But it was a 0-0. 1-0, sorry.
Crazy.
Yeah, 0-0.
Crazy. It was 0-0.
It was 1-0. And the VVD goal, like, he scored 2 legitimate goals last year. I thought the disallowed one was an absolute joke.
Yeah, that was the Endo. That was saying Endo was blocking. But then the very next week, you see goals happen like that constantly. You know what I mean? It's a nonsense. I was right in line with that as well in the stadium, and I was gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked. It was disallowed.
Gobsmacked. It's one of those things we've never just won one easy. I guess Spurs, but that wasn't very easy either. It was 2-0 in the end, but it was
still tense, wasn't it? It was still tense.
It was so tense. I remember you were watching it in a pub, were you, in Madrid? And
I was in Madrid. I was in Madrid with you at the time, and I watched it in a Tony Roma's Italian restaurant, and it was full of Liverpool fans. It was a great night.
Amazing day.
Really good. And,
it was an amazing day. I remember
that whole bar was consumed.
I just remember it being so hot, Eddie, in that stadium. I just remember being sapped of every bit of energy because you had to walk like, I don't know, for like 10 kilometers to get to that damn stadium in the first place. And it was boiling. And then when you sit down, there's no air in there. And you're just like getting a drink. And literally, you didn't even have to go to pee because you're just sweating it all out. Yeah. And I just remember I had a great spot and for that game. But the relief, man, at 90 minutes, or when that Divock goal went in, that's one of the greatest feelings you ever get.
And I think that relief comes from, obviously, we were in Kiev together the year before that, and I think that's where that relief comes from, is that you were going there to Kiev all full of hope, you know what I mean? And that was obviously the germination of this new side that Jurgen Klopp had built, and they'd done wonderful things to get to that final in Kiev, and we were there and we were so disappointed so disappointed that night, and I'll never forget going back to that hotel and meeting Herinda, having drinks, and everyone was so down. And I think that just 1 year later to go to Madrid, for you guys in the stadium, for us in the city centre, and then we all met up afterwards, and we were on the streets. We were on the street celebrating until the early hours of the morning. It was a brilliant night. You'll never forget it. And I think it's one of those and that probably is, like you say, the easiest final that I can remember. I don't think Liverpool don't do easy finals. They do finals full of drama and chaos, and it's been the way since we were kids.
It wasn't easy because it was still tense till 90 minutes though. Like it took us till the 90th minute to get the 2-0, and that was it. I mean, if you'd got that at 60, 70, then you'd say, great walk. And then the Madrid final, the second one in Paris, like obviously the stuff before the game just killed the mood. You could tell the fans were flat. Like I don't think it was loud, but the team played really well. It was a final where we actually played well, but didn't get the deserved outcome again.
Courtois on having a worldie.
I just would like one to go easily. I think Tom Odinho here is arguing with an earlier comment you were making. Even with injuries, Arsenal are still winning games. If nobody stops them, they will win the league. But our fixtures are too difficult to win every game. But I don't think Arsenal will do a Man City. So you kind of said the two opposites there, mate. That they're still winning game if nobody stops them. But you actually do think. You're saying if nobody, but then you're saying they won't do a Man City, so somebody will.
The thing, obviously, we have some tough games as well, and so do they. But I don't quite get where have they been tested with their injuries so far? They've played Leicester since their real capitulation. Obviously, before the Leicester game, they still had Martinelli, they still had Havertz. You know what I mean? These guys were still fit at that point. Their attackers weren't completely decimated. They were without Jesus and Saka. That's what they've been.
And they've not been playing every week. They've had a big gap, 17 games, 2 days, 17 days, 2 days.
Yeah, they went out the FA Cup against Man United in the first round that they could. You know what I mean? So their schedule's been kind of kind. They had that Man City game. I suppose that's the one. If there is one that you hoped maybe would be a draw for them, and it turned into be a capitulation from Man City, obviously, and Arsenal absolutely thrashed them. But Arsenal's XG wasn't anything staggering compared to Man City's that day. You know what I mean? It was. I think they had less XG than we had against Aston Villa the other night, and they scored 5.
Well, because it was tight. As soon as Haaland scored, it was tight. They scored that deflected goal to go ahead, and then it was when City's heads went down straight after that deflected goal. Like it was such a fluky goal. The second the Partey one, that's when it went, and then City's head just went. And that's similar to what we need this weekend. We need to score first, and then just put the foot down and get another, and their heads will drop completely.
Yeah, they'll go at that point. And I think this is, again, going back to the Arsenal injuries. It's not just about the specific injuries in one game. So they've gone to Leicester. They played Marino. They brought Marino on as a centre forward. They've had to take Sterling off. They've got the young kid, Ethan Nwaneri, I think his name is. Yeah, he looks phenomenal. And obviously on the other side, they've got Trossard and they've got Sterling. But those guys, as it stands, are going to have to play every game. So they're going to have to, and we know that doesn't work. In a title charge, that can't work. You cannot play those guys every single game and in the Champions League as well. So who else is playing up front? Who else are they retraining? Is it going to be Marino? Is he the defensive midfielder that's now a striker? You know what I mean? Okay, it worked against Leicester, but is that going to work against Forest? Is it going to work against is it going to work in the Champions League game? Is it going to work at Anfield? Is it going to work against Chelsea? You know what I mean? They've got Newcastle to play, who have already beat them at the Emirates this year. You know what I mean? They're going to need a lot more of a forward line they play these guys every single match. Then that's only going to lead to more injuries and more problems for them, because those guys aren't going to be able to do it. A 17-year-old kid, no matter how good he is not going to be able to play every single one of those games 90. It's just not going to happen. And Raheem Sterling looks finished. So I can't see where their goals are coming from. I just can't see it. So there's going to be issues for Arsenal for sure.
They play like 8 defenders, don't they? So they just won't concede. That's the problem.
Yeah,
and then
that's the way they'll do it, and that's fine. They're built on a strong defense, but that's only going to be draws. You're saying there, I think Saka's back in April. That comment's come up on the screen. That's maybe true, but do you think Saka comes back from this injury and is all systems go from the word go? You know what I mean? He can't just come on and play 90 minutes week in, week out, twice a week.
He could easily break straight away as well.
Yeah, that can't happen. They're going to have to be careful with him, because they injure him again, then his season's over. So and I think, okay, he might come back and play a bit, sure, but will he be the same? straight after an injury? I'm not so sure. So
And
I think
they have been saying that injury was so bad that it's the one that got Owen's pace and the one that got he could be a completely different player when he comes back. And Tom Medino is saying good points as well, Eddie. So that's fair enough from Tom. Nice one, mate. Thanks for the comments. We appreciate it. Nick Hammond saying Forest away will be tricky for Arsenal. Plus their youngster will be inconsistent because they're kids. Not too worried about the Spanish David Brent. Wow.
I think I don't expect Arsenal. I think Arsenal will beat West Ham. I think that will happen.
Yeah.
It'll probably just be a 1-0 or something like that. Just 1-0 to the Arsenal. Again, they'll keep them out and they'll score a set piece of some sort.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That'll be what happens there. Against Nottingham Forest, I'm not so sure. You know what I mean? I'm not so sure they win that one. I can see them losing that one quite easily, if not, and certainly drawing it, if not losing. So I think it's hard to get all your hopes pinned on these things because we could have said we see them drawing with Man City. I would have said that. I thought they'd draw with Man City at the Emirates, and in the end they came out 5-1 winners. So it's very difficult to predict. But
yeah,
these injuries sooner or later are going to catch up with Arsenal.
Yeah. Andrew McIver saying we're all suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder that we drop off. No wonder our fan base can't get too excited in the ground, as we've seen the script before. It's true. We're all suffering because we've seen it last year, and we're all very, very worried that this is going to happen again to us. What happened last year, and I guess we are a bit better than we were last year in terms of
but surely, Gags, there's more chance of what happened to us last year happening to Arsenal this year. Because we had these injuries last year, even worse injuries than they have right now. Mo Salah never looked the same. You know what I mean? No. In the second half of the season, once he came back with that injury.
And Tom, we do agree with you. I hope he's okay. Hate to see injuries ruin great players. He is a good player, careers. Let's hope his career isn't too bad. But let's hope he doesn't get fit this season. Let's just say that. He comes back fresh next year. We don't really give a crap what they do next year. This year, we just want it. So, Red Rebellion, going to the numbers, we have averaged 2.4 points per game this season. The most you can score at is 3 points, obviously. How is that a drop-off? No team will ever win 38 out of 38. Sorry, what do you mean with this one?
I think I saw a stat the other day that I think Arsenal are averaging more points per game in 2025 than Liverpool.
Oh, in 2025, yes, that's right.
So I think that's Liverpool. I think Liverpool have reverted to about two points per game right now, and Arsenal are about 2.3, 2.4. So I think that's where a lot of people's concerns come in. But it's a league campaign. The fixtures aren't even. You know what I mean? The fixtures, Liverpool have just gone through that. We're not even finished through the stage yet. And a horrific set of fixtures. Probably the hardest set of fixtures we'll have in the whole season have been in the past 2 weeks and in the next week. That's the trickiest part of the season that we're going to have. So once this is out of the way, the fixture, even though the Champions League comes in to kind of complicate things a little bit more, our Premier League run does tail off a bit right until the very end, when you've got the Arsenal and the Chelsea games and stuff like that coming right at the very end. Spurs at home. But is anyone really worried about Spurs at home? I know they're going to have players
even Chelsea away at the moment, like they're just not. They've just lost all their. You know when a team's bubble gets burst, that's what Chelsea look like at the moment. And Tony Steele says the defense giving away too many sloppy goals, and we need more intensity in our game. Don't give other teams time. So you know what it is, Tony? Why he's not making them super intense is because he's also worried about them losing their legs. So when we go 2 up, that's why against Wolves we shut up shop because we're trying to save for the next game, and it's making us panic. So you're right, we might need to, but if we do that, we might just stop. We might just start getting those injuries. Tom Aldina says, let's enjoy being in a no more title race for once. Hey, we got no choice. I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen. We've got an Arsenal fan here. Welcome. Thank you for watching. Bring it on, lads. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an exciting end to the season.
We need a super chat. We need a super chat from the Arsenal fan. I think you got one of them the other night.
No, it wasn't him. It was Sudge. Sudge is a top guy. Absolute top guy. That's one Arsenal fan we love. Let's do it until next season, talking about Saka. But yeah, I guess it's the pivotal points will keep coming. I guess we've called this show the pivotal point in the season, but I've got a feeling everything's going to be pivotal now. What are you hoping for to win, and then what are you expecting to win? 2 questions, 2 double barrel question for you. So what are you hoping for? What do you think's going to happen?
well, you hope for the best. You know what I mean? You hope for everything. You hope that there's still a treble for Liverpool if you're going to go for hope. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? But I don't know how much blind hope there is there. I would take realistically just the Premier League. I would. You know what I mean? I've
You
seen
take a day out at Wembley and lose.
we've won it before.
Yeah,
I've been there for the last two. You know what I mean? I don't want to lose it. No one wants to lose it. But if the devil is offering me a deal, I'm taking the Premier League every day
yeah.
of the week and twice on Sunday.
I can't argue with it. I'd love to obviously witness glory again in person. There's no other feeling like it. There's no other feeling like winning at Wembley as well. It's a fantastic stadium. But if you offered it me, and I keep saying it now, it's been 3-4 weeks since I've been saying it, that I need a demon to be killed. That's in my brain, and it needs to be removed. The 89 season just needs to be wiped from my brain, and this would be because it does feel like a title race with them, and I know they're not
I
at their
was
best.
thinking I've heard you mention that was a couple of times, and I have the same issues, obviously. But with that one, right, in particular, I think that I was what 13 when that happened. That you're a little bit younger than me, but what I'd almost become immune to Liverpool winning the league. Then I just expected that if it was going to be close and it's going to go to the wire, then Liverpool win it. They'd blown away the league the year before. They'd won it by a canter with
Cancer.
29 games unbeaten. And obviously they had an off season. They had an off season in Russia's last season in '87, but the year before that they won it as well. And I was probably 9-10 when that happened. So from there, that was kind of my formative years, and I just expected that if a title was going to go to the wire, then Liverpool win it. You know what I mean? And I had no perception of Arsenal coming and winning that night at all. None at all. I was absolutely convinced Liverpool were going to win that league that year and win the double as a result of that. And I thought it was great that they were playing Arsenal in the last game of the season. You know what I mean? I thought, oh, this is wicked. They're just going to rub it in their faces. I was going to go back to school the next day and tell everyone how great it was. You know what I mean? And that was really, for me, I think obviously it came on the back of Hillsborough as well, which was the reason that the game happened so late in the year as well. I think Liverpool had beaten Everton before the FA Cup final happened before the last game of the season. So that was the double there and then at Anfield to be decided. So usually the FA Cup was the last game of the season. I'm sure the FA Cup against Everton, which was again another one of these ridiculously stupid dramatic finals. The Liverpool won 3-2. Like what I've never seen Liverpool, just like what we said on the show. Liverpool don't win finals easily. Our finals all have to be packed with drama and chaos from start to finish. It does seem to be that way. And so going into that last game against Arsenal, and Liverpool could afford to lose at Anfield 1-0. They could afford to lose. You know what I mean? And Liverpool never really lost at Anfield. So to lose 2-0 and the way it happened in the last minute was an absolute killer, especially as I think John Barnes had gone for goal up in the corner, whereas he could have just run it into the corner and seen the clock out. You know what I mean? I'm sure he'll still have flashbacks and nightmares about that one as well. So it's just one of those that even if they win it this year, Gags, I'm sure that memory never dissipates. It'll always be.
No, but dude, celebrating it in person, going to Liverpool for a parade, maybe having a party in Liverpool for all of our contributors and supporters who are watching, and getting them to maybe meet Jan Moby, if we could get Jan Moby in a bar with us for the last day of the season, like we planned in the COVID year. If we could do that this year, it goes a long way, man, to celebrating a league title in person. I'm telling you, because
It does for
there's
sure.
no
But
feeling like it, man, and we haven't done it for so long. We won it last time, but we didn't celebrate it. Like, it didn't feel like a title win. This has got to be the one, and we've got to do it.
I don't think you get the catharsis of removing the Arsenal 1989. I don't think that happens because that let's say it's in your formative years watching football. It will always be a dreadful memory no matter what happens this year.
Oh, it will, but I will feel the revenge. This will be my. I feel it is that though. That's what I mean. It will be for me. It might not be for you, but I feel like this will kill that one off. I'll just feel like, yep, there's my revenge. Thank you very much. Have that. Take that. And maybe we should be level on points when they come to us. Maybe we should be 3 points. Maybe we should be 3 points ahead of them when they come to us, and we kill their hopes by beating them and go 6 points clear. And that's it. They're done. They're done at that point. And that maybe it needs to be something like that for me to end it all. But I would rather have a peaceful life, man. I don't want to be stressed all of these next 2 months. I want to enjoy it. But yeah, I get it. It's
And I think you will. I don't think there's going to, personally speaking, I don't expect that. I think it may be
I
done
mean,
by then. It may
this
be.
comment from Red Rebellion LFC, another good point. Arsenal cannot afford to drop any points. We are on course to finish with 91 this season, averaging 2.4. It's up to them to catch us, not us catch them.
I think
So
I agree with what Red Rebellion's saying, but I think what the problem is that because there's a window of opportunity for them to narrow this gap now, that I think that's what's made a lot of people's PTSD kick in, is that they can see that Liverpool were so far ahead and had the opportunity to go miles ahead. Like you said earlier in the show, Liverpool could have been 12 points ahead by now, and that's not even being completely optimistic. That's being realistic. Liverpool could have been 12 points ahead by now, and all Arsenal's hope would already be gone. But it's probably like we're saying with the finals, Liverpool just don't do stuff the easy way. They did that one season, obviously with the COVID, where we won that league at a canter. But in our history of supporting Liverpool, that's just not the case. It doesn't work that way very often.
No, we've seen this before. A few times at the club, we didn't get the job, fell away once or twice. Last season, we got goosed. Feel it's going to be the same. Wow, Donny, you are a barrel of laughs, mate. Thanks for the comment. That is really making me happy. I'm now depressed. I feel like PSG have the advantage due to not having intense league category title challenges. They can rest players easily, keep them fresh. Yep, I think that's a great advantage to have. Donny back again. Got to ask, do we have a bunch of bottlers desperate for get? Wow. I don't think it's a bunch of bottlers if they're tired, dude. Like, you have to ask questions about why we didn't buy players to support them. If they're getting knackered, that's not bottling.
And
you can
he's
call it
judging it. He's judging
but
it in what we just said. We're talking about the toughest part of the season, the toughest period of games. These 3 massive away games in such a short period. You can't judge them on that alone. You know what I mean? It's a marathon. We're just picking one tiny sprint from within the season and basically coming out with phrases like that. And last season, you mentioned obviously last season's previous one. We've already spoke about that. Last season, Liverpool had no players. So most of them were injured, and the rest of them were struggling for form because they were being overplayed. So I can't see that last season is any parallel to way this season by. We're not seeing the same things. Okay, we're 1 point ahead of where we were, but we're not up against a juggernaut in Man City this year. We're up against an Arsenal side that has completely been blitzed by injuries to their forward line. I don't see where they're winning all these games that everyone seems to think that they. I mean, Red Rebellion made the point Liverpool are on course to finish on 91 points. Even if they didn't, let's just say Liverpool finished on 86 or 87. Arsenal have to win almost every single game, including beating Liverpool at Anfield, for that to become a factor. And even if the lead does get cut to 2 points, which Gags kind of painted a picture for us early in the season, that's still not enough to think that Liverpool are going to get overturned by this team. Liverpool have the lead. We are the ones being chased. It's up to us. The only way we lose this title is if we beat ourselves. It really is.
Yeah, how can we bottlers when we've won everything the last 7 years? It's natural in sport to lose. Not everyone can win, and not all losers are bottlers. And I really, really like this comment, because whenever we've come second to Man City, do you really call that a bottle? Because literally, we went 97 points one year or something, didn't win it. Then we went 94 one year or something, 92 or 94 one year, didn't win it. That's not bottling a league, man. That's exceptional performance and not winning a league. That's 115 charges against Liverpool, like versus us.
Yeah,
And
every other Premier League season in history, you win the league. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
every other one.
Apart from that team with Pep is the only team that would beat it, because they've done what they've done. Like, whether people like it or not, it is cheating what they've done. Everybody knows the truth, but it's hard to prove in court because they're paying probably millions and millions for their, to get the loopholes out and do whatever they need to do. But it's one of those things. I don't think you can call Liverpool bottlers for that. Like, especially the one where we went for the quad. That was on us. We shouldn't have gone for a quad that year. I honestly believe we would have won the league that year if we didn't go for the Carabao and the FA Cup. I know we won them both, and it's great, but I would rather have won the league instead of them two that year as well. Anytime. So we can say all these things. The best season, I still say, and a lot of people will argue with me, I still say the best club season ever is the year we won the Champions League and we lost the league to City by a point. The 97 point or whatever it was, 98 point season, 97 points plus Champions League final win. There is no one, I don't think, that's got to near that kind of performance in both of those competitions against a Man City type team. No one.
Yeah, I think
That's
there was a stat
exceptional.
that
Those
went
2
around
years was exceptional, Eddie.
over 2 seasons or something. I think that we'd only dropped points in something like 6 games or something. It's just stupid like that. It was absolutely insane.
It's a shame that they were against us in that time. I think it's just a shame that people won't even look back at that and call that call the reality of it. They just want to live in this world where it's called bottling or it's not good enough. But the fact of the matter is, it's the best team probably you'll ever see from us in a Premier League. I don't think even City have done it. When they've won the Champions League and the Premier League together, I don't think they were in a 98-point season. I don't think they were anywhere near it. They were probably low 90s, which is still great, but not great as that Liverpool team. That's what it's all about. So,
and the thing is, the only other, did I read something like the only other team that's not won the league from this position that we're in right now is the Newcastle side that capitulated in 97 or whenever it was, the team that we beat 4-3 at Anfield, obviously, as part of that, whereas they completely capitulated. And that's the only time that I think anyone's, and people say, oh, I mean, you see that stat there that we're only 1 point better off than last year, but obviously there's that gap. There wasn't that gap last year. You know what I mean? Man City and Arsenal were right on our tails going into that end, and obviously all our players fell off at the same time.
Agreed. Well, I think that's everything, and we've done an hour. This hour flew by, Ed. I'm the same as you. I'm hoping that we can go all the way in everything. I don't think that's going to be the case, though. Unfortunately, I do. But to be honest, if that does happen, and I hope it doesn't, but like I said, the hope is to win everything. But if it doesn't, maybe some of it might be a blessing in disguise, because focus on the league, play one game a week. If we play one game a week, this team's going to blow everyone apart. I'm telling you right now, like, they'll cakewalk it. If we went out to PSG, I think we cakewalk the league. I think it's just win every game, literally, because they'll be able to go full pelt, 90 minutes, every single player, rest the whole week, full pelt, 90 minutes. We will absolutely. And to be honest, if we, like I keep saying, I'm desperate. I'm really desperate to take that Premier League title in with a full Anfield, even if I'm not there, and I won't be there because I don't have a ticket. But I just want to witness it on my TV that we lift a trophy with fans around us. We lift that trophy. That is the dream. I can't tell you how desperate I am. I remember when when COVID happened and we were all worried about whether the league season will start or not again, right? And we're like, shit, this is going to get cancelled. This is going to cancel, and it was never going to. And when they started it up again, I was just counting the days down to win those games and win it. I remember just being so emotional about flipping heck. This has been 20 years since we've done this, and like my daughter was like, "Why do you get like so teary when you start seeing your team win?" And I was like, "Because as a kid, that's all I used to live for, was watching them win the title. And now it's been, I'm an old guy now. I feel like I'm an old guy now, and you know, this is all I've been dreaming of for the last 20, 25 years, and we didn't get to witness it. So honestly, it is an emotional thing. It is a desperation thing. Some of us have supported this club for flipping 40, 38, 39 years now. That's a long time supporting a football club. It's a long time. And to not witness your team win it in the flesh with fans for more than half of that hurts, dude. So yeah, it's a big desperation. Like I said, I'd give everything else up to win it. I'd give them all those. I'd lose to Newcastle in the Carabao. That's how much I am desperate to win that Premier League trophy this year, because I don't think there'd be a greater joy from our fan base than that. I just don't think they will.
I think the one of the points is the players and the coaching staff and the manager won't be thinking like that. You know what I mean? So
I know.
They'll still be wanting to win it all. And that's
thank you, Yuri. Appreciate the sub. Thank you, Tom. We appreciate you too. Enjoyed you.
Please do drop a like, obviously, on the video and subscribe, folks, because it really helps with the algorithms with YouTube. We are trying to get this YouTube thing going, and we put a lot of time and effort into it over the past couple of months. It's been quite crazy, actually. Obviously, we brought Jack in to kind of help us with our editing and with our video side of the content, because that's not something we've ever done before. There was actually no plans really until recently to take Anfield Index to video. We were quite content being an audio podcast, and most of our podcasters are quite content doing audio, not video. So video was kind of a new dimension for us, and something that people have been asking us to do for years, but due to the way we work, audio always seemed to suit us better. It always seemed we were set up for editing audio, we were set up for marketing audio, we were set up for producing audio. So it was always an audio channel, and that's why our YouTube had kind of just been left fairly dormant for so many years. But this year we just, based on feedback that we got from our subscribers on AI Pro, we decided we would give video a go. And obviously we are doing that, but it's a very, very slow process. Unfortunately, it's not something we can just flick a switch no matter how much content we put out. And we're putting out a hell of a lot of content on YouTube. But to be able to deliver it, we really need that feedback. We really need those likes and those subscribes and those shares. When you see these videos promoted on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, or Facebook or Instagram or wherever you see them promoted, please do share them. Please do tell your friends. We do have the pro package still. If you want all the videos, all the audio podcasts without the ads, without being cut and in full, then AI Pro is your best bet for that. It's from as little as £3.33 per month. I can't believe it. I can't believe the price is still that. That price has been the price since 2017. What in the world can you get at the same price as you could in 2017 now? We've been through a global pandemic.
We should change the price. Sorry. For new subs, we should change the price.
Yeah.
But
Gags knows full well that the system that's been built doesn't make it as easy as that. So
no, I know it doesn't. But we can work on changing that. I think, Nick, thank you so much for supporting us on the pro side for so many years. And I can say from my perspective, I never thought we'd get YouTube going. We were like 7K subscribers about 5-6 days ago. We're nearly 7,500 now. Like it is growing really nicely. Like we're hoping by the end of next year, or by the end of this year or next year, we're going to be in the tens of thousands, and that's going to be really great for us. We just need to keep taking our time and going. I think the content we've got, especially on the podcast, is second to none. If you do listen to them, I think you'll really enjoy them. And I know there's some controversial folks on there as well, but that's part of podcasting, right? So thank you so much, Tom Rodinho. Really appreciate it. But but one guy, every single person counts in that.
Absolutely, every one of you matters. Like Gags made the point there are some controversial comments. There are some people that are prepared to say what they think on podcasts, and that's why they're on Anfield Index, because we, unlike some of the other channels out there, we have no access to the club. You know what I mean? We don't have a direct relationship with the club other than paying a license fee for media and photos and things like that. We don't have a relationship with the club, which allows us to be completely transparent in our views. And that's why you will hear stuff that you won't hear on other channels here on Anfield Index. And it's always considered, and it's always as objective as it can be. But we're not in the position that no one can accuse us of not being critical of the club, because there's so many podcasts. I saw someone today, actually, I put a podcast up yesterday, Mo Chatra's Money Talks, and Mo had obviously gone into how Liverpool differ to Arsenal financially and how Liverpool differ to Man United financially. And I saw someone commented today on Twitter that why are these fan accounts so pro FSG and on the payroll and all that? And if you go and listen to anything Mo said in the last 2 years, he's completely the opposite to that. But it just shows you how people pick up on one small fragment and then they try and pull that thread as much as they can, which is completely not the case. You know what I mean? You'll get no one more transparent on Liverpool's finances than Mo Chatra.
This is the thing. We'll get to it and say thank you, Sudge, so much again, man. Like, again, Arsenal fan. Wow. Giving us the super chat again. We really appreciate you.
We can't only have Arsenal fans giving us super chats. Come on, guys. Where's the Liverpool fans?
That's mental. That's just mental. Like more than Liverpool fans, we get Arsenal fans giving us.
To Andrew McIver's comment, he says, Andrew McIver says, "How come Dave, the Irish guy?"
Sorry, the missed first one. How come Dave, the Irish guy, doesn't come on YouTube? It's not his thing. And we can't force people to come on, and it's fine. But hey, you know what's good for us? That he's on the pro podcast, and therefore there's an attraction for people that do like him, do want to hear him, and that's on our paid stuff, which is great for us as well. So there's no real issue with it. I think Dave Hendrick is a legend as well. He's probably one of the best podcasters doing it in Liverpool sphere. Like, there's an argument
No
for
one
it.
has
I know
to.
people
No
won't
one
agree.
has to agree with everything he says. I don't agree with everything he says, and I tell him if I don't as well.
Mm.
You don't have to agree with everything every podcaster says. That's not an umbrella reflection of the entire channel because you disagree with something that someone says. It's all about opinions, and everyone's entitled to them, and everyone tries to make them from a place of being as logical as possible. But no one's ever going to agree with everyone on everything, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Both things can be correct. Tom O'Dini is asking if you can find them on
You
Spotify.
can,
Yes.
but it'll have adverts.
Yeah.
It'll have adverts. That's the
Yeah.
only thing. There'll be loads of ads on there. So
Our
if you
podcast feed is available on every single popular podcast platform.
Yeah.
Just go on it and search for Anfield Index and you'll find it. It's right there. You know what I mean? They are the podcasts with adverts. If you want to have the podcasts with adverts, all of them, all of the YouTube, most of the YouTube content, I should say, we release as audio as well. But there are hundreds of podcasts every month that we put on the podcast feed. On the free side, they will have adverts and they won't be every show in full. If you want every show in full and you want no adverts, as well as access to our VIP Discord community, then you have to sign up for Anfield Index Pro at AnfieldIndexPro.com. And as I say, it's available from only £3.33 per month. And that's for over 100 podcasts without adverts every single month. And that's Dave Hendrick every day with his Daily Red and shows like that. Absolutely everything in full. So that's what we would ask you to do if you can. AnfieldIndexPro.com, £3.33 per month. And on top of that, if you can't do that, we appreciate everyone can't do it. It's some troubled times for a lot of people financially just now. Stick with the YouTube. It's all free on here. We didn't charge anything for YouTube. If you can do the things that Sudge did and give us a super chat, that all helps. It's much appreciated. Whereas equally, if you could just like the videos, that doesn't cost anything. It takes 2 seconds. Subscribe. Tell other Reds about it. That's all we ask, really. We're so grateful to all the people that follow Anfield Index on whatever platform you do. It means so much to us that this little channel that we started all these years ago, that we've been able to get this following by putting the hard work in, no doubt. We put a lot of hard work in, a lot of expense as well. While shows are offered for free, they're not free to create. If anyone's under that illusion that they are. So there's a lot of expense, a lot of time goes into doing what we do.
And that's what we're just saying. As much as you're a Liverpool fan, he's a fan of content creators and a football fan. So much respect to, I haven't been around for a few years. Eddie asked me to come back, in November to help get the YouTube stuff going and put a face on it. And as I started the channel back in 2011, or at least 2013 from a podcast perspective. And I'm quite glad that I did, because it's a great experience coming back and having a go at it. But like you said, we have to. There used to be merch as well, Nick. There used to be merch, but
there still is. If you go to Etsy,
Yeah.
if you go to Etsy.com and search for Anfield Index, or you go to AnfieldIndex.shop, there is still merch there. It's not been updated in a little while, in fairness, but if there is a title procession likely, I'm sure we'll revisit merch.
Yeah,
the thing with merch is, even with drop shipping, the big thick problem with merch that we tend to find is you have to sell a massive volume to actually make any profit. And as a small independent organization where everyone's scattered around the globe, certainly around the UK, it's not like we have a fixed base where we can do these things. There are things we can do with merch, and we've done them before. I'm not saying never say never with merch, but it's a hell of a work for the same people that are providing all the content, that are editing the content, that are doing all the social media, that are doing all the podcasts, to then expect them to do merch as well. For the little gains you see on merch, it's very, very difficult. But don't get me wrong, if Liverpool were to win the league this year, there'll be a whole range of merch. It's not something that we'll dismiss. We'll certainly do it. Merch is, as I say, go back and look at Etsy.com or AnfieldIndex.shop. It goes to the same place. You'll see there's a hell of a merch. I mean, we had a Jurgen Klopp print from I can probably get it, actually. I'll show you. This should
while you do that, thank you, Donny. Appreciate it. Thank you, Tom. And Donny, I talk about, there you go. This print is, I've got it behind me as well. I mean, the green screen here, but behind that, I've got a massive A1. No, is it A1? Yeah,
A1, yeah. It might be A0. It's A1. I think it's A1. That's just an A3 print that I've got there. But that print has sold literally thousands of prints.
We've sold thousands of them. We've sold thousands of that print. It's such a great print. We got loads of posters and things like that we sell. There's a whole load of stuff.
I've got it. I didn't even have to get it off the wall.
Yeah. Oh right. We've got it on a coaster as well. But Donny, I talk about the story literally most shows. Like Jack's with us, and Jack's new to the channel, so I try and go through a lot of the pain points. But maybe I do the Anfield Index story on the The weekend when we've got no FA Cup game, maybe we do a show, me and Eddie, to talk about the journey, the start, and how we got through all of the things, and 2017 kicking off pro, all of those things, and me being away and just coming back. There's so much, like, we could just go into a hell of a lot, what it means to me.
I mean, I could tell people what a typical working day is for me, and they'd be blown away. It's literally, It starts. I mean, I'll tell you now, it starts at 6 a.m. every single day, Saturday, Sunday, whenever. Anfield Index starts at 6 a.m. every day, and it's very rare that we're all done before 11 p.m. most nights. That tells you the workload that goes on to make this happen. It's not something that happens easily, and that's not looking for sympathy or anything at all. That's what we choose to do. You know what I mean? We're fans as well as trying to make a living out of this, so that's all part of it. But it's quite scary, the amount of work that goes on, because there's articles. There's 50 odd articles almost every day across Anfield Index and EPL Index that have to be written. They have to be created. They have to be written. They have to be published. They have to be promoted. Then there's at least 5 to 8 podcasts every single day. Then there's the videos, and then there's managing all the social media content. So the work involved is on a whole different level to it was back in the day, and it is full around the clock, and we react to absolutely everything that Liverpool do, and that was never an option for us before.
Nick saying, are you looking for new contributors? Would cool to become involved? Absolutely. Why not?
Yeah. The best thing to do if you're interested in becoming a new contributor, send a quick email to us on pro@anfieldindex.com. That's the best way. Anyone that wants to get involved, whether it be writing, whether it be on YouTube videos, whether it be podcasting, we're happy to give anyone a go. You know what I mean? As long as you haven't got a dreadful track record of being a real bad one on social media or some scary history or whatever that we can't work with, then we're happy to encourage anyone to have a go. That's how our Anfield Index was formed. None of us knew each other before this. Oh, well, maybe a couple did, but not on a grand scale. Like, we talk to each other every single day, constantly. You know what I mean? And we're in constant communication. That all started from being fans of this football club, and the only reason it's been able to continue for so many years is because of the support that you people have. Whether you're engaging with social media posts, whether you're listening to audio podcasts, whether you're watching YouTube, because of you, this channel exists. No other reason. Not because we want to keep doing it out of the labor of love. You know what I mean? If that was the case and no one listened to it and we were speaking into an echo chamber, then this would have ended years ago. But that's not the case, because of the fact that our content has gone so wide and been so much appreciated by Liverpool fans, is why we still exist and why we're still here after so many years. And like Gag said, we can do that. We can give people, I know, because we're kind of new to YouTube, many people probably haven't heard the stories. They are all out there on podcasts historically, but there are a few new stories and a few things that have gone into Anfield Index development. And we could certainly sit and do that and give people a bit of retrospect on the journey. Gags' journey is slightly longer than the rest of us, but the journey's still an intensive one, I can tell you.
I mean, day. If you find out how it started and why it started, was, if you remember back quickly, we'll just do a quick one at the start, and we'll bring this up again in a week and a half's time, or a week's time. On that Saturday, we'll do a couple of hours for you, and we'll snip it up for people. But basically, we used to not have Twitter, or it literally was good, but it just started. Twitter just started, maybe. And we used to use forums, remember, news boards or forums back in the day. And I remember just contributing to those a lot, but people never taking what you write seriously. And maybe if you're new to a forum, it used to be very cliquey. So the people that are having the conversations would just be the ones that had been there for a while. And also, people would just talk a lot of shit, like, as in just made up crap. And so I thought, well, how do I bring all this together? One, I was very driven. I wanted to have my own business while I worked in IT, and I wanted to make something for my kids, or I wanted to do something to benefit my kids in the long-term future, and I wanted to have something that was, I could say, was my own, that was something that I started. And so I had the driven value in me as a young 30, it was in my early 30s back then. And I just said, right, what is out there? Stats. That's the best way to evidence an opinion. There's not many people doing it. And if I do it, great. No one's going to be able to argue with me, because I've got the evidence right in front of me, and they're going to be able to say, bloody hell, I didn't know that. And if you normalize that in football, it becomes a much more articulate conversation. And you could see this becomes a theme for me and the channel, really, at some point. But literally, I went and created the first ever paid for stat site in 2010, 2011. And it started development in 2010. 2011, it got launched and it was Anfield Index. And literally, John Henry signed up. Linda used to DM me about it. It was nuts. I'm not joking. Like, still had his email was his private equity firm's email, JW Henry. And I was like, is this him? And I remember people like researching it online. Yep, that's his email, lads. John Henry signed up to Anfield Index. But not only that, because Opta then were being bastards because they knew that people were signing up for this cheap deal of their stats. I was paying them $5,000 a year out of my own pocket for these stats in that site, asking people to pay to get access. But then I was offering people a platform to write on Anfield Index as well. Use those stats and write. You get, if you pay for the stats, you get access as a writer. And a lot of these friends that I have now in football, Dan Kennett, Dan Rhodes, Dave Hendrick, they all came through that site. They all came through meeting with this stat site being available and just checking it out. Oh, get access, I'll write. And some people say, I'll write for free, just give me access to the stats. So if they were good, they'd get it, Carl match it. All these people came through that. Like, it's nuts. This is 2011. It's 2025, lads. 15 years nearly we've been together. And so it's just incredible how those things happen. But then they forced me to make EPL Index because they said you can't have it on AI, a single club platform. So I had to build another site and put it on EPL. But then guess what happened? The Fulhams, the Blackburns, all these clubs started signing up. And it lasted only two and a half years. But all the Who Scoreds, all of these squawkers, they all came after they saw these sites. This was the first site that was offering stats on a platform. And everyone came after. So the pioneering came from Anfield Index and EPL Index. And like, people do still say to me, you pioneered that stats revolution on the internet. I was the first guy to start tweeting stats from an Anfield Index account. Week 1, it went from 0 to 10,000 in 2011. 10,000 followers in 1 week. You won't see that type of growth now unless you do some shitty banter stuff or you're controversial. Just numbers drew it in 1 week, guys. It was incredible. Incredible. So me and Rhodesy went and got a performer. We went and did the stats perform course in 2016, 2015, 2016. So we could analyze football games professionally for Premier League games. I can actually, with that course that I have, I could literally go work for a football club right now. That's nuts. Like, we're qualified to do that. And that's why we opened AI Pro, because we wanted to have a qualification. I wanted to be able to say, if I call it pro, I can actually work for the pros. And so I had to go get that qualification to that. Rhodesy did. Dan Kennett's a qualified statistician, like analyst. Simon Brundish is a pro working with pros in sports science. So we had to go and prove to ourselves that we're pros to get on that pro site. And that's what that led to pro coming about. But yeah, I mean, I'll have to write this down in bullet point fashion and properly go through it in a week's time. But yeah, it's an incredible story.
Tell me the story of Anfield Index. In bullet point.
Yeah, they won't know. They won't know. But yeah, it's a mad story, and I'd love to recant it and go through it, because it'd be nice to do that. There's some amazing stories in there. How I met people, how I met Dave and John Ritchie and Marco and Beasley, who's doing great, on Twitter and writing himself now, and then Dan and Rhodesy and
yeah, I mean, there's a story to almost how everyone got involved in the channel. You know what I mean? There's some great stories there, and obviously it culminates in the likes of getting Jan Mulby involved every week and having Kenny Dalglish.
But that story in itself, how the crypto stuff happened,
yeah,
and how we were a part of donating $110,000, or no, was it, or maybe $90,000?
Well, you had
just
a few
because we knew
there was Carragher Foundation, there was Marina Dalglish appeal, and there was Kevin Peterson, the cricketer, as well.
These charity cryptos, we were involved, and we were able to get that charity crypto to donate $50,000 to the Marina Dalglish appeal. 50,000 that funded cancer like treatments in Liverpool in the hospital, literally new machines. We were able to get this Liverpool Disability Football Club what was it called? Football Association, LFC, Disabled Football Association. We were able to get $20,000 donated for defibrillators for them. For Kevin Peterson, we were able to donate $20,000 for the Save the Rhinos in India and Africa. Like, just by doing what we've been doing, we've been able to have such a great effect on things. These stories aren't out there, and people say crypto's bad, but there's some good parts of it which we're able to do that. And by the way, that coin's still stable. It's still going well. It's okay. It's dropped a bit, but it's still like got $1 million in the bank from all the stuff. So it's just waiting for the next boom to do well. So it's like crazy how we were able to do that, and just by using contacts. And Kenny's a friend of ours for life now, basically, of the channels. And he'll pop on, and he did a Christmas message for every year. And if we want him to do a pod, I'm sure he'll do one if he gets time. But it's one of those things, you make these relationships as you go along. Jan Mulby's on every week. We used to have Peter Beardsley on until what happened with him, unfortunately. We've had all the legends on, and we've got good relations with them. We just, the club just don't give us access, unfortunately. But that's fine. We're not local. We're not local. And we're the voice of the global fan is what we are. I always believe that. And that's where the podcast was born, is because I wanted it to become, hey, I'm not from Liverpool. And if my voice isn't heard, or if you think it's not as important as someone from Liverpool's, it is. It's as important as anybody. Any Liverpool fan is equally important because they make the club tick. If we weren't all there, it wouldn't be as popular as it is. It wouldn't make the sponsorships it does. It doesn't get all of the visibility it does on the TV, which is why it makes the big bucks. It's because of us. So you all deserve a voice. And that's where the podcast came. And I literally created 20 different country podcasts, the Canadian, the South African, the Brazilian, the Mexican. Literally, we had everyone doing this podcast in 2014. It was insane. The workload was 18 hours a day for me. It was mad, but it was a ride. But we'll go into that next week. We'll talk about everything.
Hey, if you carry on, you'll have done the podcast.
Yeah, I'll shut up now. But it was brilliant. It was a brilliant ride, and it's been worth it. And just seeing this YouTube grow the way it is worth it. It's not been long, and it's going great. I think it's already a mini success, and we just want it to be a super duper banging success. And without you guys, it won't be. And so, please do help us get there. It's free content. It's going to be available for you guys for free forever on here. We just need to make it as amazing as possible, and we need as many of you as possible to watch it, to make it that way. So thank you very much, guys. We appreciate you being with us. Sorry we've taken a bit too long, but I guess that was going to happen with Gibbsy and Gagsy on together, because we go back a long way now, and we're partners in this, so it's going to happen. Anyway, I think we should close it there. Thank you all for listening, and I look forward to coming back the weekend after and going through all of this again, and hopefully you're all back on that one on the Saturday or Sunday. We'll try and announce it if we can, maybe even on the channel on one of the shows. Maybe we can decide, and maybe next week's Grizz and Gibbs, you can let them know when we're doing it, and that would be good. So with that, let's hope we absolutely smash 115 FC and keep a nice, and hope that West Ham do something crazy on the weekend as well. Who knows? That's not going to happen, but let's hope. And up until then, thank you, Eddie, for bearing with me for 90 minutes. And up the Reds.